first of all, I want to thank Ann Whipple. If you notice at your place and on the table as you come in the door, this is something that came up that Ann and Julia Wold from District 67 and I were working on. But it's the ABCs of school boards, and it's to help our audience feel more welcome, know a little bit more about what we're doing and what goes on in a school board meeting. And we threw our ideas out there, and Ann, thank you very much, put together a very, very helpful and attractive piece of literature. And this will also be featured on our website. So thank you for that. And we hope that we'll get feedback from our audience members at how they found it helpful. Both boards, District 67 and 115, are continuing with the superintendent search. We met last week with our consultants and made a lot of progress. You can check our website by the end of the week, I believe, and on that you'll see what's coming up with major events and the dates for those things. It is our desire to have the process completed by February of 2012. In addition, our board is working with our teachers in negotiations for the contract. The contract has expired, but a lot of work is being done on both sides, and our team is meeting with their team, and things are progressing. Third, we're still looking for a community member to serve on our operations committee. We have 3 board committees: operations, education, and finance. I would say that no experience is necessary, but a desire to serve and to learn and to share as a community member is. The deadline is September 19th. You can find the application on the website. Feel free to call. My number is listed there if you have any questions about the position. You do not need to be a parent at the high school, just a resident in the Lake Forest High School community. And it's our way of presenting to you some of the things we do on operations and then hearing back some of your views on what it is that's going on. So please take a look and encourage any friends you think or neighbors that might be interested in this position. Again, the deadline is September 19th. And last, with all the things that are going on with the board, I would encourage you to communicate with us and let us communicate with you. Your best sources for information is Dr. Griffith, Mr. Hoffman, Ann Whipple, our communications director, me, other board members, and our website. Anybody else that gives you information, there's a chance that it may not be accurate, so I highly suggest you use us as your source of information and stay on top of things and communicate with us. And just have what's accurate going on in all of our situations. So that concludes the President's report. I said Superintendent. President's report for this evening, and I will turn it over to Dr. Griffith for the Superintendent's report.
Hey, Madam President, members of the board, and audience, thank you for being here tonight. Well, the first order of business is to call on Principal Jay Hoffman for the start of the school year, and he has a special introduction too.
Well, it's my great pleasure today to announce to the Board of Education our Student Council President, who is Abby Cyrus. And Abby is a senior now, and when I asked her to tell, we've known each other for a long time, and I know what she does and what she doesn't do, and she does a lot. But when I asked her to give a list of what she does, I'll just read it to you. She's on sports teams. She plays field hockey and lacrosse, and she's also on 3 travel teams. She's in cum laude, NHS, student to student, Human Rights Club, Link Crew, the Emotional Wellness Initiative, and she's the Scout Buddies co-president. Outside of school, she's involved in the United Way Youth Board, Hearts for Uganda Charity, the Core Youth Ministry, Appalachian Workshops, Work Trip, and Camp Hope. And when she lists these things on her resume, these are not just things that she sort of does. These are things that she puts her whole self into, and she does in each and every one of those. So really happy to have her as our Student Council President. Our seniors and the rest of the school is in really good hands, and we're really happy to have her here, so let's give her a big welcome. And we'd like to introduce her grandma who's with us today. So. She'll give us a report on the start of school. So first time, here's Abby.
I'm Abby, as you know. Thank you for having me. Student Council is very busy right now. We're preparing for homecoming, which will be from September 19th through the 24th. Our spirit days are Jersey Day on Monday, Preppy Day, Class Distinction, 80s Day, and then Blue Gold to lead us into the weekend on Friday. Thursday will be a pep rally at West Campus, and we'll start off with 6:30 dinner. And then 7:30 there will be a parade of athletes, and there will be MCs recapping the seasons of the various sports teams. As well as we got some cars to chauffeur the King and Queen candidates onto the field, which will be really, really interesting. And then we will have our homecoming game on Friday versus North Chicago, and then we will finish the week on the 24th with our homecoming dance from 7:30 to 10:30. It's going to be casual this year. And for our future plans, we are thinking about doing a turnabout dance, which will be formal. We may buy tickets in advance to make it more of a promish thing for the younger kids, and it will possibly benefit Mr. Donlin's Jimmy V Foundation. Thank you.
We really have a great leadership this year in our student council and in our senior class, Abby just being one of them. And they really have gotten off to a good start. They set the tone for our building. They show the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors what to expect. We'll hear a little bit more today about the initiative that now has become part of our school in our student development pieces, and we'll hear from John and Jen later on, and they'll fill you in a lot more. But this year really has been a good start in that effect, and I think the overwhelming thing that has happened this year is our freshmen really feel like they belong at Lake Forest High School, and that's because of our upperclassmen and the hard work that they've done to make it so. And it's a concerted effort, and it sure has paid off. And so we're really happy with the start. We're happy with our upperclassmen, happy with how our freshmen are adapting, and really have gotten off to a great school year so far.
Okay, Abby, welcome, and Mr. Hoffman, thank you so much. Board members, just a couple of other reports. Let's see, document reader, Ann, if you could help me. Do you have the enrollment sheet that you could show also?
Dr. Griffith, I have world language and Mandarin enrollment are the only two sheets.
Okay, do you have that in your packet? Yeah. Julie? I don't think he has that.
We have it electronically. Mr. Hoffman has one. Yeah. Yeah, we just have world language enrollments. I don't have regular.
That's okay. What do you have in your hand now?
The world and language.
Oh, okay.
enrollment.
Well, actually, Monty, do you mind? Hey, Ann.
Do you?
Monty,
Monty?
also, hand the ACT one. That ACT. That right. Sorry. Okay, so board members, you have this in your packet, but for our community, our enrollment is at 1764 on the 6th day of school. That's a traditional benchmark date. The final summary of enrollment is held statewide on October 1st. So, is that last year? Okay, well.
Yep, I got it.
Here it is. There it is. So last year was 1764. This year it's 1730. So a slight decline of total student enrollment. I think we peaked at around 1780 3-4 years ago. This is helping us with our class sizes and our staffing plan in the high school. I think there'll be actually a flattening out or a little bit of growth next year based on the 8th grades that are that are currently in the pipeline. But we won't have we'll do a final report on enrollment with a 5-year projection in the October board meeting, because October 1 will be the real date that we'll use for our official enrollment. Ann, if you'd like to show the ACT piece there. Thank you. All right, I know this is probably not the simple way to show this to our community, but congratulations to the current senior class, because Last year, Lake Forest High School's seniors broke the all-time high in terms of ACT average, all-time high ACT average, but this year's senior class broke that record also. So the composite score for ACT for Lake Forest High School senior class from the junior exam is 26.8. When you consider that just 4 years ago, 5 years ago, it was 25.5, this is really a steady climb each year, and congratulations to the current seniors, Abby. They've done a great job. Very proud of them for that, because last year broke the record also. And this is a pretty significant jump again, so we're very proud of that. Secondly, the ACT put out a new report. It's a new product they're using, and so they've jumped it out into the school community on college readiness. So all of the schools are having their first look at this product. We don't know reliability and validity yet. We are all in conversation with ACT about what does college readiness mean, how is it measured. But they do show high schools in their report across Lake County and across the state in terms of comparison of grade point average high school versus grade point average freshman year of college. Keep in mind that the high school grade point average is a 4-year average, so it includes 14-year-olds with the 18-year-olds against being 19-year-old in college. The metrics vary quite a bit. We don't know if they've tried to standardize for that or not, but we'll know a lot more when we do the fall assessment report, and Dr. Cooley has been looking into that for us. Okay? So we'll do a fuller report on that at the time. But again, very proud of the fact that we've broken the historic record again. Thank you, Ann. I'd like to talk just for a minute about enrollment. Last year the question came up about Mandarin enrollment. So Ann, show the second sheet, not that first one. Thank you. I thought I would show you the current enrollment at Lake Forest High School this year, but also see how many students are in the pipeline for Mandarin, which is a new language. It's been introduced in our Lake Forest District 67 and Lake Forest High School community. This year we have 40 kindergarten students and 29 first grade students enrolled in a Mandarin immersion program. This is half of the day is taught in Mandarin, half the day in English. And these students will matriculate year to year into the upper grades in an immersion program. So very enthusiastic reactions to this in the lower grades. You can see we have 194 students in third grade this year doing a 6-week study, Mandarin immersion study unit. But we have 42 fourth graders, 24 fifth graders, 23 sixth grade, 15. And then in the high school we have levels 1, 2, and 3, 13, and 35 students. So we have 61 students total at Lake Forest High School, or a pipeline of 249 students presently enrolled in Mandarin, full-time Mandarin programs. If you include the enrichment program, we have 443 students studying that language this year. So it's very healthy. It's off to a good start. Our other languages, the next chart, Ann, are also strong. You can see French, for example, we have at Lake Forest High School 203 students, German 56, Latin 206, Mandarin 61 students, Spanish 751, and then we do have our seniors are branching out into other subjects. So we have the category called none. We do have some special circumstances in grades 9, 10, 11 for that. So that's the distribution for fall enrollment in this year's languages. Okay. One other thing I'd like to add for our community, we have an exchange program with 2 countries. We actually have a global education program with Netherlands and also with China. Most recently, the China program has been in the news, but we've been doing an every other year program with sending students and staff to the Netherlands and vice versa to Lake Forest High School for, Jay, for how many years have we been doing? About 20 years. So it's a normal routine thing for us to do, and now we've started the same program up with high school number 2 in Shanghai, China. an outstanding high school that's exchanging students. And then, board members, I'd like to call on Dr. Cooley to say something about the Youth Summit that's coming up here this Thursday, September 15th.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Griffith. At your place, and I believe you've received this in the email, is an invitation to come to a community forum this Thursday. It's going to be a very exciting event in our community. We're Lake Forest High School, Lake Forest Academy, and Woodlands will have approximately 100 students together all day, and they're going to be talking about what is great about growing up in our communities, and also the challenges they face. And in the community forum that evening, they're going to talk to leaders like yourselves and say, what they talked about and suggestions that they might have. And we're going to have an opportunity for follow-up and those kinds of things. You can see on the reverse side, perhaps, and if you want to flip that over, the high quality of the sponsors. You can see the Women's Health Advisory Council of Northwestern Lake Forest Hospital at the top of that list. I'll have to say they've been quite the workhorse in terms of getting this event off the ground this year, and you can see the other sponsors and then the supporters as well. So we hope that many of you will be able to attend, and we'll look forward to sharing the results in any case. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Julie. Board members, I was going to mention under the student enrollment that I've given you the class size report for the start of the year. I'll show you the actual 20-year history, but certainly the past 5 years in the October enrollment report. But our overall school enrollment class size average in the 5 core subjects is 20.9 this year. Last year I think it was 19.8, 20.1. So it has gone up 0.8 of a student per class across the 5 subjects. We'll show you the 5-year, 10-year, 20-year trending history on class sizes across the core subjects of Lake Forest High School when we do the final enrollment report. All right. Thank you, Ann. Thank you, Julie. And board members, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Griffith. It's now time for public participation. At this time, we invite members of the public who wish to be recognized to speak before the board on matters that are not on tonight's agenda. Is there anyone who would like to come forward? Seeing no one, we will move on to our board committee reports. The first report will be our board education committee, and that will be Nikki Snoblin.
I just want to remind the board and others that we discussed last month doing a better job of keeping our fellow board members informed of when our committees were meeting, what we were talking about, and then sending them so that they can attend meetings if they want to, and then sending them information afterwards. So I think we kind of failed at informing board members that our first education committee meeting of the year was going to be September 6th. I will, however, make sure that you get the notes, which are 2 pages that I promise I'm not going to read all of right now. I'll just summarize. But in the future, we'll try and make sure everybody knows in advance when the meetings are being held and what we're going to be talking about. First, we talked a little bit about reorganization of the administration, which was necessitated, as you know, by 2 administrators leaving. Harry gave us a chart that detailed a lot of the changes in District 115 and 67, but we needed more detail on 115 specifically, so we'll be getting that next time. We went over enrollment numbers, which you've just seen, class size as well, and Harry mentioned at that time, too, that he was going to do a 20-year comparison just so we can see trends and that things do, shift around a little bit. We heard quite a bit about the Link Crew and STS, which is student to student, and I'm not going to talk about that right now because we're going to have a report on it tonight, but it's going extremely well, and it's so nice to see that these activities are becoming really a part of the culture at our school. I think it's a great way to start the school year, and then these are student volunteers who continue to help with new students and other things all through the year. We talked at some length about teacher evaluations. There are 2 new laws that the administration has to work with for teacher evaluations. One of them is the Performance Evaluation Reform Act, or PARA, which was approved by the legislature last year, and then this year we have a new one, SB 7, Senate Bill 7. So Jim Sullivan went over with us how the staff is working to comply with those laws. It's, as usual, pretty complicated, and there are some things in the laws that will perhaps need a little clarification. By December 1st, the school has to have a committee in place to develop a compliance plan, and Jim expects that it'll actually be sooner than that. Compliance dates are also partly dependent on the state providing sustainable funding for the program, and so the state funding anything can be a little bit problematic, so we certainly are looking for more information on that. Evaluations for teachers are going to have 4 tiers now instead of 3, which will give the opportunity for a little more nuance, which will just provide more information, I think. And the state is developing a default compliance plan so that if a school fails to develop its own plan, there'll be something for them to fall back on. But of course, we, along with most schools in this area, would really much rather develop our own. So they're moving ahead with that. We talked a little bit about Polson services. There's a consultant named Jim Polson who's been working with our faculty for the past few years on mentoring programs and defining best practices, and we've definitely seen some good results from that. And Mr. Polson will be working with our staff on evaluation practices as well. We worked out kind of a schedule of board reports, which I'm not going to go into because you'll hear more about that from Dr. Griffith, I'm sure. Student Services Department, we had a report from Jim Thiel in his new position, and he told us what they've been doing. At that point of the school year, they're mainly dealing with schedule changes, you know, students who need to change their schedule around in the first week or so of school. Individual counselors are handling those schedule changes now, which is going over really well because your counselor is the one who knows the student and the student's workload the best. And then Jim also talked to us about how the counseling department is continuing to, with their development, their professional development. And I am not going to go into any more on that now because I know we will end up with a report from Jim pretty soon. We talked a little bit about NSSED, which also I think it was just a status report basically, and we're going to have a much more in-depth report on that to the board in the next few months. So again, we're still studying that situation. No decisions have been made, and Dr. Cooley will be keeping the board informed on what's happening with that. We had a really great discussion on 2020 Vision, which is such an exciting project. It's a tri-district initiative among District 65, 67, and 115, in which they are examining what our students are going to be needing to be successful in the future. We've heard about that here on the board before, and we'll certainly hear more about it later in the year from Jim Sullivan. But the 3 realms that 2020 Vision addresses are personal and civic responsibility, learning and thinking skills, and communication literacies. So they're looking at things like the feasibility of e-textbooks and digital course materials, articulating 21st century learning among all the districts, things like cloud computing, which a lot of the students are probably becoming somewhat familiar with anyway, sharing data with other districts, possibly looking at distance learning. So there are a lot of possibilities that they're starting to explore. And let's see, we talked about the district dashboard, which is something that the board has talked about several times, and I think what we're doing is each board committee is going to address the parts of the dashboard. The dashboard is the data that's presented on the school's website that can be used as a measure of the district's progress towards its goals and the district's success. So there are lots of different ways that we could be measuring things. Each committee is going to address those measures that are relevant to what that committee does. And our committee agreed to take a look at our dashboard, look at the measures that are specifically education related, and then come back prepared to talk about that at our next meeting. And speaking of which, our next meeting will be Monday, October 3rd from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. at East Campus. And I'll make sure that a notice gets sent along with the agenda to all of our board members. So if anyone's interested in attending, they're most welcome. And Monty is also a new member of the Education Committee. And do you have anything to add?
No, you did a great job.
Thanks.
Thank you, Nikki. Very nice job. Next, we have our Board Operations Committee, Dick Block.
Thank you, Sharon. The Operations Committee has not met since our last board meeting. We're still trying to find a date. We've tried 2 and struck out both times now with committee member attendance, but we would certainly hope to have a meeting here before the end of September. I would comment on a couple of things, though, that have happened in the interim since our last meeting and since our last report at the July board meeting. Those of you who have been to one of the 2 home football games or read numerous articles will note the Images of Excellence murals up on the back of the gymnasiums here at West Campus, a tremendous project sponsored by the Booster Club and supported by the Lake Forester and Pioneer Press. And Harry, I don't know if you want to make any additional comments about that, but part of our pilot program with the Booster Club and part of our alternative revenue efforts, but I think just a tremendous success. I've heard nothing but positive things about it. So,
just let me also say a thank you to our sponsors and our Booster Club that are working hard to support our programs. Like every school district across America, these are difficult financial times, so the many, many hours that our parents and community-based sponsors are putting into the program, just board members, I think we can just be nothing but grateful for everything they've done already to help our programs. So thank you, Dick, for bringing that up, because it is a significant initiative that I think can become a model for the rest of our programs at Lake Forest High School, too.
And the end product there in terms of the murals and a recognition that we're giving our students who have excelled athletically and also academically. A band member is on the mural. Our senior class president from last year has a prominent place on the mural. So just a tremendous success, at least as far as I'm concerned. And while you were talking, maybe you would also want to update the community on the formal kickoff of the East Campus project fundraising activities, which has taken place since our last meeting as well.
Right. We had was very well covered in the media, but I believe it was August 30th, we had an open house for a project to raise $2.5 million in our community to rehabilitate a part of the Lake Forest High School East Campus that we basically left behind in the referendum of 2006 because of other higher priorities in the academic program, but still an area that is continuing to deteriorate. There's a large track. We've had to condemn stands, and the Booster Club has come up with a comprehensive plan that is going to be, has been reviewed, and will be in the future reviewed by the Operations Committee board members. It's a significant fundraising effort, and again, we want to thank all our moms and dads and community members out there that will help us with this, because Lake Forest High School does not have the capacity at this time to do that by itself.
Yeah, and if you would like to participate, speaking to the community, in the program and in the funding effort, please feel free to come to the high school website. From that, you can get to the Booster Club website, and all the details are there. And then lastly, fellow board members, I think at our October meeting, you can look forward to seeing a proposed revised charter for the Operations Committee. We talked about this briefly in July to incorporate, formally incorporate security issues, information technology, and communication issues in the committee's charter, just to, again, give you a heads up about that. And that's it. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, Dick. Next, we have the Board Finance Committee report. Jim Carey.
The Finance Committee has not met since our July board meeting. Tomorrow night, however, is the budget hearing. Is it 7 p.m. tomorrow night here? Will that be televised or videotaped? Okay. Just in case it's not, Alan, could you give us a brief synopsis of what the budget looks like next year, just so we have it on record for the community members? Because again, it reflects a lot of the work that's been taking place over the last few years, and we just ought to share that with the community.
Well, we're still anticipating a lag in revenue from the state. Interest earnings, a year ago, I didn't think they could go any lower than they were, but we've budgeted, I think it's in the $60,000 range, where a few years ago that was $1 million revenue line item. But with staff reductions and budget line reductions and renegotiations of vendor contracts, we are going to present, or the budget that has, the tentative budget that has been on display is balanced, and nothing has changed in the time that we've put that on display in July until now to make us believe that that will still not hold true. So we are presenting a balanced budget for your consideration and action tomorrow night.
And have there been any inquiries over the last 2 months while it's been on display?
No.
We don't have a date for our next Finance Committee meeting. I think at the outside date it would be sometime in November, but I fully anticipate we'll be meeting before then.
Exactly. We have the quarterly schedule set up, and the next meeting is in November, but I would anticipate one early October.
Okay. Thank you. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Jim. Are there any comments or questions from the audience about the board committee reports? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Next is our report discussion of student development and emotional wellness. Dr. Griffith?
Yes, board members. Well, this becomes a highlight of our board meeting tonight. But the Education Committee did meet, as reported by Chairman Nikki Snoblin. And we've tried to, Nikki, we've put together a map following that meeting of presentations to the board on the progress on goals from the 2010-11 year. So the past year, now that our year is closed and we have as much information as we can gather. And so in September, board members, tonight you're receiving the Student Development and Emotional Wellness Report. In October, we'll bring forward the Counseling Department and College Matriculation Report. November will be Special Education Programs and NSSED. In December will be your Annual Assessment Report. And then in January will be Teacher Evaluation and Professional Development. And then finally, the final report will be Project 2020, which is our 2020 visioning project. What will Lake Forest High School look like in the year 2020? And that's for the February meeting. So I would like to introduce two of our key staff members who each have new roles at Lake Forest High School for this year, taking on quite a bit of added responsibility. And I can see that stepping up first to speak is John Maher. John, thank you for being here tonight. And also Jennifer Knight, thank you also, Jen. This is the culmination of a lot of information that's been gathered across Lake Forest High School on our Emotional Wellness Student Development Report. A little bit of diving into one particular area rather than just a thin across many lists of activities. While there will be a summary, I think you'll enjoy this little step into a little bit more depth in how we did last year with our Emotional Wellness Student Development Initiative. So John and Jen, thank you for being here tonight.
Thanks for having us. We wanted to start off our presentation with a short video. The video is titled We Are, and what this was a cross-curricular project between our senior mass comm class and the English department. Over 100 students were involved in the making of this. We kind of feel like it's a great introduction to what we've kind of decided to start doing and how our student development and our emotional wellness initiative has really become part of the school.
At Lake Forest High School, we positively represent our community.
As Scouts, we value strong character
and ethical actions as opposed to social status.
Scouts are accountable for their actions and do the right thing,
even when no one is watching. Our students and staff embody
integrity,
empathy,
acceptance,
responsibility, and accountability. By addressing our problems, asking for help when we need it, and extending a hand to others,
we not only strive to be better students and staff members, but better people.
I'm from Lake Bluff, Lake Forest.
Nolan.
I'm a soccer player.
A skate shooter.
A cheerleader.
I'm a mixed martial artist.
I'm a palmer.
A frisbee player. A basketball player.
I'm a hockey player.
A wrestler. Big kayaker.
I'm a real boy.
I am a vegan.
A dad.
Best dress.
A karate kid.
I'm going to Cornell University. I'm going to be a Red Hawk.
A Dewhawk. A fighting titan.
I am involved.
Ginormous.
Shy. Adventurous.
Dyslexic.
Learning disabled.
I'm a swimmer.
I'm a water polo player. A skater. I'm a salsa dancer. A snowboarder. A surfer, bruh.
I'm an aunt. An animal lover. A shopaholic. A traveler. I'm a J. Crew catalog. I'm a natural blonde.
A guitarist.
My family's from Iran. I am Belizean.
Dutch.
Native American. Japanese.
Filipino. I am a senior.
A freshman.
I am destined to succeed.
Fun-sized. Pink.
Smart. A stud.
A Spigos.
We are twins.
I'm Maria Sunshine.
I am a visionary. Driven. A musician. Determined. Awesome. Entertaining. I'm a dancer.
I'm a free spirit.
Sarcastic. I'm a gleek. An outdoorsman.
Dean of students.
An Eagle Scout.
A ninja. I am artistic.
A reader. I am deep.
Involved.
A ginger. A language nerd. A perfectionist. And the best. I'm a woodworker. A Cubs fan. A mathlete. Camera shy. I'm a gamer. I'm a chef.
I am small-boned but big-hearted.
I am potty trained. I am what I am. Kind of a big deal. I'm a Kiwi. We are many.
We are one.
We thought that would be a good start also because it was spliced back together by students. The part at the very beginning was the student mission statement, created entirely by students, read by students that were mentors in our health and wellness for life class. So again, you just kind of see the different pieces of this program that come together. We wanted to take a little bit of time today to look back a little bit. We have historically come in here and done a best of last year slideshow, which we've been very proud of, but we wanted to take one step back and look at how we got to this point. Not that it's been so long, but it has been a program that we started slowly and has really picked up momentum in the past 3 years. So it began actually in 2006, 2007. We were approached by Charmed, an organization really focused on building programs from the grassroots of a school. And we took an entire year just to educate the administration on this framework. We took the entire next year to educate faculty. Then in 2008 and 2009, we educated the students, and as we have well learned, once you bring the students in, you better get ready to catch up to them. In the following year, students stepped up, leadership, and then last year, it really blossomed into a piece that was owned by the entire school. I know that we mentioned this last year in our report, but it is a goal of ours, and I think one that we've moved forward in having this become a part of the school fabric at large, not an initiative per se, but how we do things, how we do everything within our building. One other piece that wanted to just revisit, because again, this is something that we took 3 years. The first 3 years, we took time to, come up with our core principles as a group. This was something that all stakeholders were involved in the conversation. Again, started with faculty, brought in students and parents, and each member of the group had part in creating these 4 principles, ultimately in student-led small teams with all stakeholders involved. We came up with these brief definitions as kind of a focal point for our work.
First, we want to talk a little bit about the area of curriculum. We had late start discussions, which consisted of 3 different late starts. We went in, we had to combine some departments together because some are larger and smaller than others. And what we did is we decided to try to talk and do needs assessments, focusing on emotional wellness, focusing on the emotional aspect of the departments, the individuals in the departments, in their classrooms, and just try to have some good conversation as far as how we can help improve things. A lot of things came out of these discussions. We've made some changes within the building, even as small as where the mailroom is, which is actually a big deal for a lot of our faculty members, to also trying to get them maybe more things within the classroom, maybe more discussion as far as how each other in their departments work with each other, conversations of that nature. It was a really productive thing that we did, and the late starts were great. Obviously, the We Are video was awesome. I mean, it kind of speaks for itself. They were just wonderful. Iowa Farm experience, would you like to talk about that?
That's a program within our science. Not only is it an example where students get to go into the kind of a real world experience, but also last year they worked with third graders, so it was a mentorship experience for our students within the high school building.
And then the use of core principles in our syllabi. One of the, last year when we first presented, I believe Dr. Gann came in here and showed you how in their syllabus they kind of infuse their core principles. We have more and more teachers doing that, not only within syllabi, but within projects, within homework, homework discussions, just kind of discussing what it means, especially integrity. We've done a lot of work around integrity and homework and what that all means. So we feel, once again, with curriculum, with the way our teachers are, we're really ingraining it, and it's just kind of becoming the way we do things.
Our next step from curriculum is kind of that larger scale professional development. John referenced it, and I'm sure you guys remember it from last year, the incorporation by social studies of emotional wellness within their curriculum development. And that is true across departments, that they are focused not just on how do we revisit our curriculum, but how do we ingrain these principles within the work we do in our classrooms. Another piece that happened last year is Charmed has had ongoing support, but specifically last year, and again out of those late start discussions, faculty were interested in some support on how do you have difficult conversations with other adults that are ultimately productive. So we brought in a speaker in the lunch and learn format and had over 30 faculty members participate in a two-part series on having confident and successful conversations with other adults. The last piece is a piece that I think truly speaks to this attitude of it's not what we do, it's how we do things. Race to Nowhere came up on our radar, and I'm sure on yours too, last winter, and the school opted not just to participate in a viewing, but really to take a proactive ownership of it. So we had a preview of faculty leaders and students at the same time. The first viewing for all of us was alongside students in a small discussion in January. And then we moved into our tri-district Institute Day, and during that time, we again watched the documentary as an entire faculty and then had students lead discussions with our faculty on the topics that they raised. So again, it was something that we took on as our own, really looked into the issues that the film brought up, but brought up those issues alongside our students and really valued what they had to say, as well as giving them opportunities to lead us in that discussion. Student life is perhaps the piece that we couldn't fit enough pictures on the slide to tell you all the things that have been going on with our students, so we just chose a few. The first has been referenced a couple times. It's the STS group, student to student, and they actually were alive and well before emotional wellness even was an initiative per se. It's run by Megan Miles. She's the club advisor, and this is a group of students whose entire focus is supporting other students, and they truly embody the effort. They're the lost Ask Me, which is a very helpful thing to see as you enter our building. In the upper right-hand corner, you see students during our awareness sessions. We had one in November of last year that had 100 students and 30 leaders. The leaders were also students. This was entirely organized and run by students. They got the sign-ups, they did the places, they organized the small groups, and all while teachers were doing faculty work. We had this entire student life going on within the building while teachers were working on faculty. In the bottom right-hand corner, it's not a perfect picture of what happened, but our freshmen, or actually our senior captains last year on the football team, within the team itself, had a conversation about Facebook and how do you want to represent yourself on Facebook. And this happened right around October. So we heard of this opportunity and we thought, wouldn't that be a great thing for our freshmen to hear? So freshman orientation day part 2, our freshmen are operating kind of in small groups throughout the building. But we took the opportunity to bring all of our freshmen into the competition gym, and they heard our senior football captains talking about Who do you want to be on Facebook? How do you want to represent yourself? How do you want to represent your community? Again, a great opportunity for our students to be leaders in front of the younger students, and for the younger students to hear that message in a way that they probably wouldn't have heard quite the same way from the adults in the building. The bottom left corner, I won't make you guess what that one is a picture from 1 week. It was an evolution of our Earth Week and the one concept that, again, students came together last year, decided that we would have this focus, this evolving focus of one over the course of the week. One school, one community, one Earth, one self. So different days with different foci. And these all different student groups came together with this common mission. They worked alongside the adults in organizing and planning the event. And this was really a full-scale event over the course of the week that our students owned, and then our whole school got to participate in.
School and community. The picture to your left, that's Maureen Fallon standing in the gym with a whole stand full of freshmen. And then that's what we've been working on a lot over the past 3 years is our new freshman orientation. It started off 3 years ago with a clap-in, and I believe many of you have seen that on the website. We clap in all the freshmen on their freshman orientation day. That went into year 2, which included another clap-in along with what we call Link Crew. I believe Ms. Novlin discussed that earlier. And Link Crew is a new program that we've started. Maureen Fallon and Laura Clegg are in charge of it. And what it is pretty much using students to introduce freshmen into our building. To kind of, what used to happen is it used to be a freshman orientation day of here are the rules, here are your classes. And what we decided is that we needed to be more emotionally well. So what we do now is we get them all into the gymnasium. It's a lot of social time. It's a lot of getting to know you time. Then they have small breakout sessions. There are currently, I think this past year, there was 97 junior and senior mentors. So that's gone on for the past 2 years as far as the gymnasium piece. And now this year, what they're doing is also doing social follow-ups. So these junior and senior mentors will also try to get together with their small group of freshmen and do some social activities with them throughout the year. So really just this encouragement and this urge to try to get freshmen into the school, get them acclimated better, get them feeling comfortable better. And then to the right, that is a picture of John Underwood. John Underwood came in. He is an Olympic coach. His program is called Life of an Athlete. It's really big on the East Coast. A lot of the New York schools have used his program. And what it is, it's pretty much living a healthy lifestyle. And if you live a healthy lifestyle, how that affects your successes in life. He particularly focuses on athletes. So he came in and he talked to athletes. He talked to the parents of athletes. It was really well represented. He talked in the Raymond Moore Auditorium. And then the next week, he did a small group session with anywhere between 25 and 30 of our student athlete leaders, and did a small group presentation with them and talked about what they can do within the school to help encourage living a healthier lifestyle, and once again, how that healthy lifestyle affects performance.
Okay, there are a couple things that you've already heard about, but we're happy to say that they tie into this initiative, which is no longer an initiative, as well. 2020, of the 3 threads in their framework, one was purposefully crafted to tie in with the core principles, this personal and civil responsibility strand. This is their definition and their categories underneath, that take ownership and embrace one's learning and one's role in society. And you'll see even within the language, the ethical principles, the responsibility. Within an extended definition of ethical principles, it discusses integrity. So again, this is building into the framework of the school where it's not a separate piece, but it's truly within the fabric of as we move forward. This piece you are probably familiar with, but I think it illustrates how all the way up and down the levels of the district organization, this has become and truly began with you, a framework. And I think in your packet today, you have a copy of our school profile, and the 3rd paragraph actually references this idea. It's truly, I mean, someone looking at our school at a base level, this is who we are. And as you spent time last year on our mission statement, I was looking at, or as I watched the video, I thought how well the mission statement fit in with the pathos of that video, this idea of ownership, of self-reflection, and of courage. So those are pieces that all allow us to they provide opportunities looking forward to really move forward with this as an organization, as we move forward in our work, and as a school community all the way up and down the district organization. A couple other items that came out of late start discussions and desires from our students and our faculty. One we wanted to share with you is a yearbook of sort of faculty, Lake Forest Faces. So we have one of those for each of you this evening. It's a little cheat sheet when you walk in our building. If there's a face you don't recognize, you can go back and page through and put a name to that person. So it was something our faculty wanted, and we thought that you might like one as well. It's the first printing edition, so you might want to tuck it away because I'm sure it'll be worth much later on. The other piece, which is backed by popular demand, is our walk. We had talked about maybe doing one this spring and did have the concern that there's actually, at this point, only one retiree in the district. We're a little concerned that this retiree might be uncomfortable with the spotlight, but we're hoping that he can manage. So you'll be leading that walk, my friend.
You'll be coming around the circle.
You know he hates the spotlight.
I ask all of you to help build him up over the course of this year because that's a big event for us, and who better to lead us. So again, thank you. This truly came from the vision of this group, and it has now been woven into the fabric of this school, but especially woven by our students. As much as we thought we were doing the front work, when they took it, they have run with it in ways that we didn't anticipate but can only be happy about. So thank you.
Thank you very much. That was outstanding. And I want to ask board members if you have questions or comments for our speakers.
I do have
Nikki?
a few, actually. The purpose of weaving emotional wellness into the culture of our school, in my opinion, is twofold, and I hope they're both obvious, but I want to just be explicit about this. One is that we are creating, well, maybe not creating, we are assisting human beings to develop to their adult potential, and part of that is social integration and being emotionally healthy. But the other piece of that is it's our job to educate them, to make sure that they learn math and science and world languages and whatever else they're taking, and they're going to do that much more efficiently and effectively if they are not worried about their environment, and if they're comfortable socially and emotionally in their environment, and if they know how to get help if they should need that. So in my opinion, those are the two great values of this program. And I would also like to say that I am a naturally skeptical person and have seen many, feel-good programs come and go. And I think that this one is truly effective because it did start at the grassroots level. It's not, Charm didn't come in here with some fully formed program that we then had to purchase from them and try to apply it to our students. It didn't work that way. And I've worked with Charmed a little bit outside of school now too, and understand better where they're coming from. And it truly does sort of bubble up from the bottom. It's like, let's see what people are really thinking, what they're feeling, what they're concerned about. How can we address those things to help them become what they want to become? And Charmed, in fact, is thinking about bringing, well, they're working with a community group in an attempt to try and see if there's a place for some of these same precepts outside of school, because the kids go home to their families, and their families have some of the same dynamics and some of the same issues that the kids may experience in school. So it's something that we're going to look at, and but it all kind of started here, and I think that that's really exciting. And thank you for your great presentation.
Well, thanks.
Any other questions or comments, board members? Well, thank you both very much for coming to the meeting and giving us this report, filling us in, and it is a feel-good moment. You should be proud.
I have a question. I'd like to ask a Mani question. How do you see in the future the new mission statement for the high school aligning with what our student and teacher activity is, or will be?
A lot of what has come out of emotional wellness has really been starting the discussion. And it's been starting the discussion with a question here's this idea, and what does it mean to you, and how does it really play out? And I think that that's something that's already starting to happen within our departments, with faculty, starting to take a closer look at what are the different pieces of this and how can we live them and bring them to our students. And I think the next iteration of that is giving students the opportunity to make of that as they will. We have not had much of a history of prescribing things with the students. We've had more of a history of bringing that to them, our question, and our ideas, and then letting them build off of it. So I think this would probably be similar. Jump in.
The interesting part also is not only with students, but when we had our departmental discussions on those late start days, it was amazing how many of the teachers wanted us to ask the students what they thought and what they wanted and wanted that feedback. So, I think the integration of what we started and where the students are carrying us, and then pretty much our vision and our mission statement, to me, it's all come together. I mean, we were as pessimistic as you were. As far as, is this really going to work? I mean, initiatives come and go. And what's so nice is that we've taken the word initiative out of it now. And to me, that speaks volumes.
Any other questions? All right, well, thank you both very much.
Thanks.
Okay, next on the agenda are our action items, and board members, tonight we have a little cheat sheet here, so as you're following along on the computer, you can also follow our motions this way. Well, it's a little hard. We're getting there, but the first will be the approval of the Omni Youth Service contract. Dr. Griffith?
Yes, board members, this is an annual contract that Dr. Julie Cooley will quickly summarize for us.
Yes, this contract is actually an expansion of a donation that we got from a family last year, and it's used in the special education department to offer a really unique program to bolster, again, the social emotional aspects of those students. So it really helps students with understanding themselves better and how they fit into school, into the community, into their family life. So really helping students to be introspective and then going forward in a better direction. So I know you know that we're looking at our special ed programs, and this is taking a group of those students and really investing even more services into their social emotional well-being, and I think it'll pay dividends to this group of students.
Any questions, board members? All right, may I have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the Omni Youth Service contract as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other questions or discussion? May I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Block?
Aye.
Mrs. Snoblin?
Aye.
Mr. Edson?
Aye.
Mr. Carey?
Aye.
Mr. Bergner?
Aye.
Mr. Scribner?
Aye.
Mrs. Golan?
Aye, motion carries. Next, we have the approval of the Michigan State University Service Contract. Dr. Griffith?
Yes, board members, this is a contract with Michigan State University for providing a Mandarin teacher for Lake Forest High School. In the past, we were hiring a guest teacher from Shanghai, China, and we'd actually had over a 2-year period 2 different teachers in our classrooms. But we were able to find a source for Mandarin instruction for teachers of teaching Mandarin in English classrooms for a master's degree. We're very pleased with the quality of teachers that Michigan State University is able to bring to the United States. They're very interested in being teaching Mandarin in American classrooms. We do have 4 other Mandarin teachers in District 67. The Michigan State University contract with District 67 is for 4 Mandarin teachers. They are guest teachers. We hope eventually to go to full-time American teachers teaching Mandarin in American classrooms, but given the complexity of this language at this time, there are just not enough teachers available to us. It is slightly less expensive than the cost of a regular classroom teacher. The salary is $45,000 a year. There is a small stipend that supports these teachers for housing in Lake Forest, mainly because Lake Forest is a very expensive place to live. The stipend is approximately $150 a month. The rest of the rent and cost of living has to be paid for by the teacher out of their own salary. And then together the 5 teachers are sort of a cohort that we have in our schools. 3 of the teachers live right here next to Lake Forest High School, and 2 of the teachers live downtown in the downtown area in an apartment there. So this contract has already been approved for the 4 Mandarin teachers in District 67, and I'm bringing this tonight to you for Lake Forest High School.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll move that the Board of Education approve the Michigan State University service contract as presented.
Is there a second? Thank you. Board members, any questions, comments?
Yes, Ms. Golan, I have a comment, I guess. Twice in the early phases of this agreement, the early language of this agreement, it says that the Confucius Institute of Michigan State University will provide instructional consultant services as set forth in this agreement. It says that twice, and that's the only mention of the services that they'll provide. There is no description anywhere in the agreement of what they'll do. I would know that this was, a contract to provide teachers for a Mandarin language program, unless I knew that from other sources. Anybody looking at this, unless they read something into the name Confucius Institute, would have no idea what these instructional services are all about. And then further, Dr. Griffith, I was glad to hear you clear up the financial obligations of the agreement, because I was a little confused reading what is written here. The language of the agreement says during the term of this agreement, the school district shall pay the Confucius Institute of Michigan State a total of $45,000 for the services of the Confucius Institute and for each of the Institute's instructional consultants rendering services under this agreement. And what you're saying is, just to clarify, that payment includes both the services of the Confucius Institute and of the instructional consultants, and it's only one. Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, it's only one. The agreement for payment for the teachers is with Michigan State University.
Okay, so these this 45,000 annual figure is not the total?
No, it is the total, with the exception of a small stipend that we're assisting the teachers with.
The agreement covers one consultant or teacher, and the total cost for both the Confucius Institute and for each of the consultants, meaning only one, is $45,000.
That's correct.
Okay. I don't think the language in the agreement is worded particularly well.
Yeah,
I don't want to hold up this agreement.
I'd agree. Poorly.
I don't want to hold up this agreement. On the one hand, on the other hand, I think it's incumbent on us to say what it is we're contracting for in the agreement, and for a little more clarity regarding the cost. So.
Well, this is their standard agreement. They have their Schaumburg and Barrington school districts. There may be a couple of others also have signed agreements with Michigan State. We have checked out their service by going and visiting 3 or 4 school districts in the state of Michigan. where this program has been in place for several years now. And while maybe it's not quite clear enough, it's clear in our minds that this is for one teacher at Lake Forest High School.
Board members, any other questions or comments on this?
I have one. I'm sort of hesitant to bring it up because it's so small, but the agreement also says, except as otherwise provided, each of the parties shall pay their own expenses. And I don't see the $150 mentioned anywhere in the agreement.
No, that's something that we're doing ourselves to help defer the cost of living in a very expensive part of the Chicagoland area, as opposed to living further west, further north, or further south.
It's not part of the agreement itself then, and could be changed at any time.
Right. This is something that we're doing to try to help them actually live here in our community.
Any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none has been moved and seconded. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Carey?
Aye.
Mr. Bergner?
Aye.
Mr. Block?
Aye.
Mr. Edson?
Aye.
Mrs. Snoblin?
Aye.
Mr. Scribner?
Aye.
Mrs. Golan?
Aye. Motion carries. Next on the list is the approval of the Ed Tech Solutions Service Contract. Dr. Griffith?
Board members, this is contracting with consultant agreement services between Lake Forest High School District 115 Ed Tech Solutions. That's Cornelius DeBose, who operates on a consultant basis as manager, director of IT services for both Lake Forest High School and District 67. It is for approximately 225-day service contract. This is a renewal. We've had this in place, and Cornelius, I think, year 3 with us, year 4. So this is an extension for another year for this service. In the past, Lake Forest High School had its own director of IT services, and this is part of the magic of shared service because Lake Forest High School is spending significantly less than it did in the past for this delivery of service.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
I move that the Board of Education approve Ed Tech service contract as presented.
It's been moved and seconded. Board members, any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Bergner?
Aye.
Mr. Edson?
Aye.
Mr. Scribner?
Aye.
Mrs. Snoblin?
Aye.
Mr. Block?
Aye.
Mr. Carey?
Aye.
Mrs. Golan?
Aye, motion carries. Next on the list is the approval of the Whipple Consulting Service Contract. Dr. Griffith?
Okay, and board members, in each of these contracts that we're discussing, because these are non-employee services, like your architect, like your attorney, IT services, this is now communication services. There are no other benefits, health care, life insurance, retirement benefits are not a part of any of these contracts. This particular contract now is with Whipple Consulting LLC, Communications, Media, and Public Relations Consulting Agreement between Lake Forest High School and Ann Whipple of Whipple Consulting. This is a 10-month contract for Lake Forest High School, basically a 24/7 job with respect to attending meetings, being on call for communication and public service needs, representing the district throughout the community. The contract, again, is a renewal of last year's agreement. And by the way, each of these agreements are for a no increase in cost also. Both the agreement with Cornelius DeBose and Ann Whipple are for the same cost as last year's services. Again, it's a 10-month contract.
Is there a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the Whipple Consulting Service contract as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Board members, are there any questions or comments on this?
I have a point of curiosity, probably more than anything, and I think it applies to
noticed that in the first two that we approved, the Omni Youth and Michigan State, both had language about indemnification and insurance requirements and confidentiality and responsibilities like that that are placed on the contractor, and I don't see that in any of these. Is that a conscious decision or otherwise?
Yeah, no, I think this is a standard LLC agreement. We could include those in these contracts, we just haven't done that. I think the language, as you point out, of the prior agreements is pretty standard, so we could include that here too. The indemnification and insurance piece.
Thank you.
Any-
I have a couple comments.
Mr. Block?
That's all right. And before I make these comments and questions, I just want to say for the record, from my perspective, Ms. Whipple has done an excellent job with the districts. I don't want anybody to misinterpret the questions or comments as just that the arrangement received a fair amount of attention about a year ago in the community, and so I think it's helpful maybe to clear some of these things up. Dr. Griffith, you provided the board with some comparative information. I don't know, do you want to share that with the public, or do you can? Sure. I mean, I don't want to put Ms. Whipple on the spot or what have you. I just think it gets to the heart of some of the questions, though, that were raised, like I say, about a year ago, and the board has the information. I think it would be helpful if the public had it as well. So we don't have to show it right now if you don't want, or we can put it on the website or something, but I think it would be helpful if it was shared.
Okay, good. I think actually the website is a good idea. We do have comparatives with other school districts where you can see comparative costs. We could include that also with ed tech consultant services.
Okay, like I say, I think it just provides some insight. Are there any other costs, is the question now, are there any other costs other than the costs outlined in this contract that we bear on behalf of either Ms. Whipple or Mr. DeBose or other contractors? There were a lot of questions raised about cell phones and automobiles and health club memberships and God knows what all. Can you address that?
No, because Whipple Consulting is not an employment arrangement, those things are not available to this consulting service. Office space is not uncommon for a consultant program that is integrated into operations. This is a private sector as well as public sector commonality. I would say that I think for our audience, just real quickly, and we'll put this on our website, the Lake Forest High School's contract with Ed Tech Cornelius DeBose is for $64,575. Glenbrook High School District is spending $162,000. Libertyville High School, $145,000. Highland Park Deerfield High School District, $141,000. Stevenson High School, $88,000. So Ed Tech Services at Lake Forest High School is for $64,000. In communications, in a comparable positions, District 34 Glenview, this communications public relations person is costing $165,000. New Trier High School is $131,000. Libertyville is $114,000. Stevenson $103,000. Lincolnshire Elementary $101,000. Wilmette $94,000. District 67 with Whipple Services is $94,000, and Lake Forest High School is $80,000. Lake Bluff District 65 is $90,000, and Lake Forest High School is $88,000. On balance, a lot of punch for pretty competitive service costs. But there are. I'm really glad you raised that. There are no cars, no housing, no cell phones, no furs or jewelry. No, I mean, there just really are no other expenses.
Well, the contract does provide for reimbursement of out-of-pocket expenses, routine and customary, but I presume that those are de minimis.
Right, it's when there's a purchase made for us, then we'll reimburse. It's just a direct cost. It's not a payment to
Health club membership.
No, none of that exists for this position.
Okay. Sorry to belabor all this, but I couldn't help but notice that the 67 is paying more than 115 is, and I guess that's the first I was aware of that. Can you explain the difference there?
Yeah, well, they didn't negotiate as well as the high school. The reason why, honestly, is probably it's because in 67 has more schools. They have four APTs, not one. They just have more of everything. Student population is a little larger also, and again, the high school was probably the high school superintendent probably did a better job negotiating for the high school than the 67 superintendent.
Okay, and then lastly, just to try to put the comparative information in perspective, Ms. Whipple and Mr. DeBose are not just serving the high school, they have other clients as well. I'm not sure about Mr. DeBose, but I think Mrs. Whipple has clients beyond the two school districts. Can you give us some idea, Dr. Griffith, about how much time? You mentioned 24/7, and I know she's on call 24/7, haven't had experience with that. But it's not like she's 100% to the high school like some of these other positions with other districts are. So I was just curious about how much of her 24/7 time District 115 might be
consumed.
I would
say Whipple Consultant Services is 100% service to Lake Forest High School, not necessarily 100% time. So yeah, Ann Whipple does have other clients. Actually is in quite a bit of demand in the North Shore area, and I think actually, I happen to know, turns down a lot of things too, because very few public relations communication departments run actually with the kind of effectiveness that ours does. But having said that, I don't know, we don't really do a punch in, punch out. It's what our goals are, what needs to be done on a day-to-day basis, and whether it's on a Thursday or a Sunday night. I know that Whipple consultant services are available 24/7 to your board president, whether it's a late call or a midday call, regardless of what day it is. So I think it's really more about purchasing the service, managing our web, managing the output of public information to parents and faculty alike, works with department heads, school brochures, et cetera, et cetera. We did have the unusual year of a highly successful referendum campaign, and Whipple Consultant Services actually saved us a lot of money from what had been prior planned with other consultant services. So, but that was an unusual year. This is a contract that is based on last year's amount with no increase.
Yeah, I'm not at all trying to so everyone understands, I'm not at all trying to get to either effectiveness or cost benefit here. It's just that when you compare our contract with other districts where they have full-time employees, $130,000 to $165,000 a year, I think to be fair, we do need to recognize that those are 100% devoted to that district as opposed to our situation. I'm the first to give public witness to the fact that I think our needs are being well met and efficiently met. Having said that, like I say, I don't know what these other employees of other districts are doing in addition to communication services, so I just wanted to point that out. That's all.
If I could just interject, I have a business myself that operates on somewhat the same basis as Whipple Consulting, and the contracts are never time-oriented. They're task or project-oriented, so as long as the contractor is able to provide the services that you're contracting for on a timely basis, it doesn't make any difference if they do that in 1 hour or 80 hours, as long as you're getting the service that you are paying for. And anyone who has that type of business would love to have multiple contracts with any number of different clients, as long as you're able to deliver the product that they are paying you for. So personally, I know she's pretty much on call 24/7, but it's pretty much irrelevant whether a person in that situation has other clients or not. It's whether they're providing the services that you're looking for and that you're paying for.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Seeing no conflicts, it's been moved and seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Aye.
Mrs. Snoblin?
Aye.
Mr. Edson?
Aye.
Mr. Bergner?
Aye.
Mr. Block?
Aye.
Mr. Scribner?
Aye.
Mrs. Golan?
Aye. Motion carries. Next is the approval of Kathleen O'Hara Consulting Service Contract. Dr. Griffith?
Okay, and board members, the Lake Forest High School has a robust a robust program of student service projects that requires a lot of coordination, a lot of time, and Kathy O'Hare has been delivering that service for us. In the past, she was an employee. This is removing this service to a consultant contract. It is for $53,000 over a 10-month period. And I gave you a sample of an invoice. Just to show you the kinds of things that go on at Lake Forest High School, such as right now working on reorganization of the service clubs, new informational brochures for all extracurricular clubs, staff advisor to the women's club, peer tutoring program for Lake Forest High School, the parent working with us on the parent open house, which is tomorrow night, but also the freshman parent open house that we held for the first time this year. That was, by the way, APT supported. Very successful. All new parents were invited to have tea with Lake Forest High School APT, but Kathy O'Hare helped coordinate that. Website coordination, working with the China and Netherlands exchange program for students inbound. It's just, the list goes on, and Kathy is providing an incredibly important service. This is something that 10 years ago was not a part of the fabric of the high school. But that's all changed, and as you know from your own children, how important community service has become for the youth of today. And Kathy is on a 10-month contract. This would be a 10-month contract for Kathy to deliver the same service she was providing last year, and taking on any particular initiatives that Jay Hoffman would have in mind during the year to help him also.
Board members, any questions or comments on this? Is there a motion?
Yeah, I actually do have a question.
Jim.
What was Kathy being paid when she was an employee?
Same amount. She was 10 months as an employee, and at this salary amount. Jay, do you
She was what was considered a .6, and that was to keep her safe under the TRS retirement rules. And so this helps her even better.
When she was making the same salary as an employee, was she also receiving benefits?
Yes, she was.
Yes.
And this removes that. So while the salary is the same, there are no benefits that are part of this contract. Well, you know, it looks like Jen can actually help me with that answer.
Just one correction on that. We did help her with the calculation. That amount was increased her salary amount from last year to cover the applicable taxes. So she wasn't to be harmed.
But in some, we're still saving money by having her on a contract instead of as an employee. Is that right?
Maybe marginally, but it's pretty much a push.
Okay.
Any other questions? May I have a motion, please?
I move that the Board of Education approve Kathleen O'Hara Consulting Service Contract as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Scribner?
Aye.
Mr. Edson?
Aye.
Mrs. Snoblin?
Aye.
Mr. Carey?
Aye.
Mr. Bergner?
Aye.
Mr. Block?
Aye.
Mrs. Golan?
Aye. Motion carries. Next is the approval of the Human Resources Report. Dr. Griffith?
Yes, board members, we do not have Dr. Michael Cyrus with us this year, as you know, but I've asked, among the redistribution of his duties to about 5 of our administrative staff, I've asked Jen Knight if she could come and be here tonight to give us a quick summary. Jen, in her new role at Lake Forest High School, has taken on a lot of new duty, and so now she's put on her personnel hat for us, too. So, Jen, thank you for this.
Thank you, and welcome again. As you can see from the report, it was a busy July and August for us as we moved into the new year. A couple events that we had a new teacher orientation the third week of August, and we had not only our new faculty participate, but we also had our new teacher assistants, as they will have strong classroom roles. It was a day where they got to learn the logistics, some of the technology pieces of the building, but also where we really welcomed into the building. We had a lunch provided by APT, in which a number of our administrators dropped in, and it was a success, much appreciated, especially as they walked into their first day of Power Teacher and they knew how to use it. The other piece that we've had ongoing, and it's had a couple mentions already, is the Polson component of professional development. Not only did we have a new cohort go through his best practices this summer, but we also have an advanced group. This is the first time we've run this group. It is being run by our new two mentor leaders within the building, Elizabeth Wolf and Amy Bertman, with the support of Jim Polson. And they're focusing not only on additional techniques of best practice, but also on collecting student data on learning and using those to influence teaching, as well as really implementing the concept of a community of learners within our school building. And the last piece, which had some mention, but which we'll come back to more later, is having Jim work with our administrators to really be proactive about formative observation and evaluation for our new faculty members. So that is, in part, came from the catalyst of new legislation, but also from the desire of our administrators to be consistent and really be most helpful to our faculty through the observation and evaluation process.
Board members, any questions or comments? And I just have one. I think in the future I would like to move human resources up higher, because this woman has 3 little people waiting for her at home. So,
or even better, they're all asleep.
Oh, well, stay as long as you like then. Okay, seeing no questions, thank you so much for that presentation. And may I have a motion, please?
I'll move that the Board of Education approve the human resources report as presented.
Second.
Yeah, board members, just a reminder too, we have a separation agreement and a retirement agreement as a part of the personnel report too.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Snoblin?
Aye.
Mr. Block?
Aye.
Mr. Edson?
Aye.
Mr. Bergner?
Aye.
Mr. Carey?
Aye.
Mr. Scribner?
Aye.
Mrs. Golan?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Last, we have the consent agenda, which includes the approval of financial report and schedule of checks written, the approval of minutes from a regular board meeting of July 12, 2011, minutes of a board workshop executive session from July 12, 2011, and the destruction of audio recordings from August 4th, 2009 and October 13th, 2009. Is there any item that a board member would like to remove from the consent agenda? All right, may I have a motion then?
I move that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda as presented. Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Do I need that? May I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Block?
Aye.
Mr. Carey?
Aye.
Mr. Edson?
Aye.
Mr. Bergner?
Aye.
Mrs. Snoblin?
Aye.
Mr. Scribner?
Aye.
Mrs. Golan?
Aye. Motion carries. Next, we have our FOIA requests. The first is from Nancy Thorner of Lake Bluff. The second is from Nancy Thorner of Lake Bluff. The third is from Nancy Thorner of Lake Bluff. The fourth is from Nancy Thorner of Lake Bluff. The fifth is from Nancy Thorner of Lake Bluff. The sixth is from Nancy Thorner of Lake Bluff. The seventh is from Howard Handler, nsbar.org. And the eighth is from Sue Termott, Chicago Tribune. Announcements. Tuesday, September 13th, that's tomorrow evening, is the Lake Forest High School Open House from 7 to 9 p.m. It is also our budget meeting, and we would love to see members of our community join us, 7 p.m. right here, as announced. Wednesday, September 14th is a late start day. Friday, September 16th, freshman parent coffee, 9:30 to 11 in room 103 at the high school. Wednesday, September 28th will be a late start day. Monday, October 10th is Columbus Day, no school. And our next regular board meeting will be Tuesday, October 11th, here at 7 p.m. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.